following the rights such as pay rent, or not bother the neighbors, or steal stuff, or whatever it is that happens, you can now get kicked out. You have a bad renting record and now you can't get a place to live and you don't have the money because you lost your job, because you lost this other one, so now you're living in the shelter. In the shelter you show up drunk one day and they go, no, you can't live here anymore either because you're not allowed to drink here, you've got to go to the other shelter, the one where they will let you drink. Then you go to that one, then you get beat up, so you get yourself a dog to protect yourself. But now they don't allow dogs in the shelter, so now that you have a dog, how hard do you think it is to unravel that whole thing and go back up to living in that apartment you used to live in? And your dysfunction that caused you to lose it in the first place is still in place, and if not just in place, it's actually magnified by your experiences in the last year that you've been on the street or been on that downward spiral. So we then end up in law enforcement with those individuals that are very, very complicated in their needs, that are acting like children, bothering other people, but the root cause of the reasons are totally different than just I want to bother the guy next to me. And then we have to take all the tools, as Dr. Marsha over here knows, how long did it take you to get your degree?
How long did it take?
How many years did it take for you to get your degree?
8.
Okay. We have 6 months of police academy. We spend some of it learning how to shoot and some of it learning how to shine our badges. So we are now standing with a person without 8 years of degree in how to deal with the complicated psyches of people that are dysfunctional. Could you move? Could you please move? I'm asking you to move or you're going to get behavior modification that you won't respond to. So if he moves over to somebody else's doorway, and another officer has to then come out and tell you, you can't be in this one either. I need you to move from this one as well. Okay? It's not doing anything for anybody. What we've tried to do now in the last couple of years, in the last 10 years that I worked, I have a program called Restorative Policing. And what we're trying to do is how do I find a way to decriminalize the behavior that I just identified and make it a social problem instead, where I find the social workers are the people that have the funding, the beds, the treatment, the medication, the compassion, and the time to take these complicated Peter Pan's lost boys and hold on to them and work with them. Can you never be fixed? Well, that's okay then. You're in a safe place. It used to be called state hospitals, but they weren't safe, people that were in there. They changed that, let them go on the streets. People blame Reagan for that. I don't particularly blame him or not, but the intention was take them out of the big institutions, put them out into the smaller neighborhoods, and have the smaller neighborhoods deal with them. But no money followed that, so they just got let go. But what they came from, I want to urge you to understand that what they came from was not good either. When you sit and you get a medical lobotomy, and you sit and look at the wall, and you just sit and drool, and you sit and talk to the wall, that's not a life either, right? So it wasn't good. They led into something else that maybe could be good, but it turned out not to be. And now we have a bunch of zombies walking around in public that some of them are just smell funny, look funny, act funny, and some of them will kill you and cut your throat off. But you don't know which ones they are because they all act, as they said in Frankenstein Jr., they all act abnormal. And abnormal is not good. We all want to conscribe to the same method of behavior. You all did it. You're all facing this way. Anybody thought about why you're not facing the other way? Okay. You're all adhering to the rules in here, but people that are wired differently will not adhere to that same set of rules, and they become abnormal, and the rest of the clan and the tribe is going to go, that's weird, and if it's weird, it's not safe. And if it's not safe, when he does something that looks scary, we got to have somebody stop him. We call mom and dad. And who's mom and dad in your society? Parental enforcement is us, the law enforcement. Okay, so I ramble, I got something to show you here. I somehow lost a clicker. I used to have one. I'm not sure you need to read that. I think we're finding it in a larger format.
I have to feed the mice more.
It's always a budget issue, isn't it? Some of you will, I hear, do you recognize him? Somebody else said, I know this person.
Yeah, I know.
I'm not putting him up here to make a spectacle of him. He does quite a wonderful job himself downtown, making a spectacle of himself for various reasons. A highly intelligent person, I like him a lot. Half the time he likes me a lot, the other half the time he yells at me and screams at me and calls me all different kind of names. It really depends on what his state is at the time. He used to have a very lucrative job, and things happen. But this is not about him, but since I heard people saying they recognize him, he causes a lot of disturbance. Would he ever hurt anybody? Probably not. Do we get called 5-10 times a day when he's in a bad spot? Yes, absolutely. He becomes a big drain on law enforcement resources, because when we get called on somebody like him that is causing a disturbance that looks dangerous, and we go out and say, yeah, sorry, we can't help you, he always does that. That's not enough of a solution for you. Your tax money pays for better than, yeah, he always does that, and you just have to put up with it. He might just have offended you, and you don't particularly like that, so you want something done with it. But I know that he's mentally ill, and whatever I do with him is not going to change what he will do to you and anybody else. And he didn't mean it to you anyway in the first place. Okay? It's your small ego that got bruised. It's just his behavior. But it's hard for us to sell that to them. We are sales people. We will sell peace and calming to people. Please stop this. This is what I'll give in exchange for this. What can I do for you? So that you're satisfied that what I do to him is sufficient enough in punishment. We always go with the lowest level. So, excuse me. Should I point at you when I do this? Does it need to be on? There's no light. If there's no light, there's no happiness.
There's no on-off, just...
Or I can look at you and give you a signal and you press enter.
Use the taser.
That'll get him going, right? Voluntary compliance?
Just nod at me and I'll move to the next one.
Okay, go to. Now, we don't have sound on this one, which is unfortunate, because I arrested them.
This is for real?
Yes.
This is very real. So this is the backseat of a squad car. These two people live in the park, and we tried voluntary compliance for a while. How do I get you to not live in the park? Because when you live in the park like these two guys do, drugs and alcohol all day long, it leads to 20 other similar people coming in. That means that you with your grandchildren and your own children and your friends and family can't go to that park for obvious reasons. They present an undesirable area, and then they colonize and they set up in this area, and we couldn't get them to move. So I contacted them, tried to help them, went on for months and months and months. I said, okay, now that's enough. I'm going to start giving you citations for sleeping in the park. Has no effect on them, so we step it up one level just like we do with the belt. I'm going to arrest you now when I come here because you are not responding to my request for you to go change this. So this morning I would just come 10 minutes earlier each time just to wake them up. And I told them that this is what we will experience. So I end up arresting them. And they think it's unfair. After 3 months of working with them, asking them nicely, they think it's unfair that they get arrested. So they resist me. Both of them in wheelchairs. I can kind of handle myself against somebody in a wheelchair who's a little bit drunk and I'm just waking him up. So I start handcuffing Gator, as you can see, but he starts resisting. And I look at it, and here comes the question then, do I need to use my stick on him in a wheelchair because he fights with me? Yes or no?
Yes.
Did I fear for my safety?
Yes.
I did not. Could I, in my report, have written that I feared for my safety? Yes. Could I possibly have feared for my safety? Yes. At that moment, with these people, I didn't fear for my safety, no need for the tools. I am, by law, allowed to use the tools. Here comes the ability of the officer we talked about earlier. What decision do I make at this time? I choose to say, knock it off, get in the car. And he gets in the car. He's not handcuffed, that's against department policy, but do I care? He got in the car. What did I want him to do? Get in the car and not hurt me. He wasn't hurting me, he got in the car. So they're both in the car, and that's pure love there. You don't even need the sound. What I have going is the radio, and it's bad to the bone. and it's playing. And he's singing along with it. And look at the love right behind you right there. I mean, that's unconditional love. We ain't bad, we're just drunk, is what he's saying. And they get in the car, I drive out, it's Sunday morning, I drive to jail, he goes, can you go the long way, Officer Hove? Because we've gone the long way before. And the long way means go up State Street, and I bump the music, I play the radio, because they like music. Because it would take me 5 extra minutes, but it doesn't matter to me. So I let them listen to the music on the way out to jail. When we get to jail, I step out, I have my camera, and that song is going, bad to the bone. So he's singing along as you can tell, and that's what this is. And he goes, I know you, I love you, we ain't bad people, we just like to party, we just like to get drunk, or something like that is what he's saying here. But I have a good working relationship with both of these. Next one. So I talked about the beginning, like who knows what they're going to become when they are, you know, is this what you want to do? I want to be a judge, I want to be a carpenter, I want to be a plumber, I want to be a gardener, you know, whatever you plan. So that's the mind of a 6-year-old, right, trying to decide what are you going to do. So this one here is the guy in the yellow shirt. Okay? So at some point, somebody patted him on top of the head and go, grandson, you're going to be great one day. But then he was wrong, because later you see him in the back of the patrol car. So this, if you can point to anything here that tells you that he's going to be what you saw on the previous slide, I'd like to hear what it is. The hairdo. The hairdo? I had one just like that when I was that age. Now it could be upbringing, talking to his mom, she was heavily into drug use and so forth in Nashville. So maybe that was something that had something to do with it, I do not know. He died 3 or 4 months after that video, behind a dumpster at 3 o'clock in the morning, living his lifestyle. It wasn't a surprise, he had to die, it was the only way that would stop what was taking place. No, it wasn't 3 months after, I'm sorry. What I did since that video was I got him sober 2 times and sent back to be in Nashville with his mom, and he stayed away for 3 months trying to get his life back on track again. But as the old saying goes, there where you go, there you follow, or something to that effect. Okay? He's not escaping that which he is. So he came back to that drinking style in the park again, and that happened twice, and then he finally just gave up going, Hove, thank you for your help. I got 6 months of sobriety, but I can't do it. I'm out here again, and I'm not doing it anymore. And then he passed. Go to the next. Now that's a shame you're not getting music on this one. So, actually I used the right one when I stopped pointing. There's Gator again in the party. There's a group of about 10 of them sitting over here and many more over here. This guy came to me and said, Officer Hove, I need help. I need to go back and see my family. I haven't been home for 26 years. I'd like to go home. He is, I don't know if you can tell, he's got some sugar in his tail. He's gay, and he doesn't get accepted by his family that's heavily religious. So he's been fleeing his whole life. I've been in fights with him where I had to drag him in the back of my car and put him in, but we get along otherwise just fine when he's not polluted by drunkenness. He comes to me and says, Officer Hove, can I have you help me? I need to go back and see them. And says, okay, I'll help you with a ticket to go back. He goes, no, I don't need money. I get unemployment. But when I get the money, I drink it. And I go, well, then open a bank account. That's easy, right? You open a bank account, you put your money in there. He goes, they won't let me. I don't have the right paperwork. And I go, I can hold it for safekeeping. We book it at the police department for safekeeping. Here's your receipt. You can come and get it anytime you like. Did we ever do that? No. That was what I figured out in that very moment. He gives me $100. I put it in there, give him the receipt, and I tell him you can come get it anytime you want. And he'll come and give me $50 and $25, and I'd write it down, and he'd get it, and then I lose him. And I lost him for 2 weeks. Didn't know where he was, and then I find him in the park, like this, drunk. And I'm on my way to jail with another guy whom I just purchased a guitar for $80 on Craigslist. I found it on the computer in my car because he had said to me, if I have a guitar to play, I won't get drunk. He had just been let out of jail 3 days early. And I had a bet for him in Los Angeles to go to this program. He's been a drunk for 35 years. He was willing to go into a program, but if you let him out for 3 days before we go to that bet, guess what's going to happen? Party picks right back up again. So I keep them safe in jail, and I go get them in jail with the understanding that waiting for me to take them to a program in Los Angeles, San Francisco, San Diego, wherever that place is right for them to go to. And the jail goes in their wisdom, oh, let's just kick him out so we can have less people in the jail. And I go, do you not understand the person you're kicking out is one that will be back that afternoon? You're saving nothing. So I buy him a guitar, and he says, I'll pay you back. And I says, well, if you can make money playing, then go for it. If not, then, you know, it's just part of the progress. Well, he gets drunk for the next 2 days. And so I arrest him, and I take my guitar back, because it's really just a loner with an understanding that's loose, but nonetheless. So I see him, and I go up and I play, they talk about music, I grab the guitar and start playing, and this is what unfolds. Then obviously I arrest him right after this, right? Because there's no question, he's drunk. So I put the guitar away, put him back in the back of the car. He yells and complains and tells me all different kind of nasty words because he thinks it's not fair. I get him sobered up in jail for the next couple of days. Go get him, the next one. Go get him and take him to the train station. That's good right there. Take him to the train station and send him off to Boston, because now he's sober, now he's back to his senses again. And he calls me from Boston and tells me, hey, Officer Hove, I'm watching Toy Story on a 52-inch screen right now with my family members. Thank you for saving my life. I got a puppy, by the way. And I go, of course you do. It's complicated matters, but he stayed away for 3 years. And after 3 years, in the 3 years, I talked to him a couple of times, and one day he calls me for the park and goes, Hove, I'm in trouble right now, I got myself drunk, I'm hurt, and I'm doing bad. I go, okay, let's work it out. You know, what about your family? He goes, no, I'm here in Santa Barbara, I'm in the park. And I go, why are you in the park? He goes, because you helped me last time. That's what I said too. However, it took me then 4 to 6 months to get him cleaned up again, worked again, and put him into the Folding Hotel. Because now I knew what, and you kind of know the people you're working with, you get to know. I knew what I was dealing with, I knew what we had to do, how we couldn't do certain things. He had a couple of relapses, and it's been 3 or 4 years now that he's lived in his own little apartment at the Folding Hotel. Oh. So 3 years in Boston, 4 years in his own room here, a couple of little things in the middle of trouble there, but nothing compared to every single day. And that's what I spend my time doing. I spend my time with these people, get to know them, get to interact with them, gain their trust, not to gain it, but because I'm here to help you. Why would you not want the help? And you'll give me all the reasons why not, but inside you kind of do want the help. Because none of this that you saw in the back of the car, even though it looked like a party, none of it is really enjoyable. Okay? Your life expectancy as a homeless person is 20 to 25 years less than that of anybody else that doesn't live that lifestyle. So, who are we dealing with? Children, adults, mental illnesses. How's that? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. They're all different. Let's just be clear on that. They're all different, just like you're different from you, that's different from you, that's different from you, that's different from me. Not better, not worse, just different. Mental illness is not just mean, okay, here's this color pill and here's this amount and there you go, now you'll be fine. Not at all. It has all the complexities of a computer that doesn't want to cooperate with you. So they have very difficult time socializing and communicating with other people. They don't think the same way. There's a really good program on FX right now that I really like. It's called Legion. It's a superhero movie. And my wife goes, I don't care if it's a superhero movie. No, you got to see this one. Legion, his superpower is that he's mentally ill. And they try to fix him. Well, how does that feel? How are you feeling today? What do you think about that? When in reality, he has a superpower they don't understand. And that is that he's mentally ill and he has access to the universe in ways that they don't. So if you have a chance to see that series, it's on right now. It's kind of interesting. It's the first time I've seen it done from that point of view. So I don't have time to talk a whole lot about that because we'll sidetrack me too much, but if you have a chance, take a look at it. They don't understand what people want from them, and they don't understand that their behavior is offensive. I mean, they do because they get smacked in the nose or they get told to move on, but they don't understand why it is that it's offensive. So I was talking to a lady one time that I know, and she was riding with her uncle in the car, and he was brilliant, or is brilliant. We're talking about NASA level scientist and so forth, but he's got Asperger's. And as an Asperger's individual, he doesn't quite have the social clues dialed in. And at some point he looked at her and he got really upset and he goes, I don't understand how you get it. How can you talk to people? How can you talk to strangers? He's putting machines on the moon, but he can't talk to the ice cream parlor at the truck stop. And he knows it, but he cannot unravel the formula. And that's what they're up against. They cannot unravel the formula. It looks easy, and I can teach you one step. You go up, you shake the hand, and you say, hello, good, we got that one. But you don't always do that, right? You don't do that to a 14-year-old girl. and therefore they can't differentiate between that or whatever else. I'm simplifying it. Next. The reality is as real to them as yours is to you. Absolutely. You cannot tell me that I am not right now a police officer standing here with you listening to me. If you were to tell me that you're all a bunch of children and I'm receiving the information given to me and you're really all a bunch of 6-year-olds, if you told me that, hey, Hope, just to be sure, these are all 6-year-olds, there's nobody over 15 in here. If you told me that, I would not believe it because my senses tell me this. How much do you think it would take for you to explain that to me for me to buy into it?
Couldn't do it.
Couldn't do it. What if you get all these people to help you?
I don't trust
You
them.
think? Not a bunch of kids like that, right? So collectively, you will all try and save me from the embarrassment and the stupidity of me perceiving you in a way that you're not. But my perception dictates my behavior. I will treat you as that which I see you to be, not that which you tell me you are, but I don't agree with. Does that make sense to you guys? Yes. It's very difficult to tell somebody that they're wrong because they operate from their soul, spirit, and understanding. So you can't tell them that you're wrong. You know all of us in here are wrong in some things, right? You can't see that which you can't see. That which you don't know that you don't know it because it hasn't been brought to your attention. But if somebody tells you to look that direction, you can begin to learn and you can discover that in the hidden space back here. Maybe you can learn that spot. But simultaneously, there's something over here you don't know yet. You don't know yet what it's like to lose your father if he's never died. I'm talking to an older group of people, so of course, the people that never know that. But if you haven't experienced that one thing, you can have read about it, but you don't know it. So you don't really know what that's like. And you operate from a point of view, and you'll see it on Facebook with politics right now, right? Anybody ever seen anything against Trump on Facebook? Anybody ever seen anything against Hillary on Facebook? Are all the other people truly crazy? Do they come across that way to you? Absolutely, but 50% of the population is on one side, 50% is on the other side, and they sure wish the other one would see it from their point of view, and they will present good, valid, logical arguments that could sway you, if only it wasn't because you knew you were right. And I don't mean right in a righteous way, I just mean right in your understanding of life. That's what they have a problem with. If you're mentally ill, and your network of filters is wrong, or they have a superpower that we haven't come to that part yet, or they have a superpower connected to the universe that we don't know about. They think we are wrong. We think they're wrong.
Right.
It makes it very, very difficult to tell them now, you shall abide by all the rules and regulations that we put in place that are all right and all of your behavior is wrong. It's just a hard sell. Next one, please.
Wrong one.
Sometimes people are wrong. It's an organic ailment. If I come in limping, you will wonder what happened to my leg. You will have a sense of pity or interest or curiosity. How long will it take? When will it be healed? Boy, that was a good story. You snap your Achilles tendon. Oh, that hurts. Oh, dear Lord. If I come in and I talk crazy, you're going to distance yourself from me because I'm abnormal and it's not as interesting. And there's no immediate, there's no story to go with it, and there's no solution to it. You're just presenting some unknown, potentially dangerous. If I'm just doing this, I'm no threat to you. But if I sit right between you and I pick up your drink and a drink from it and come back over here and I violate social rules, then I become dangerous to you and your mind. In that, you will forgive me limping. Well, he's walking funny. Should I be mad at him? No. But he's drinking from this cup. Should I be mad at him? That's the mental illness that's making you do this. It is an organic disease of your brain or connection to the universe that is making it that you are disabled. But people don't get credit for it. Monday night, Loco Tuesday, drinking night at the bar, it's all fun and games and people are dancing on the tables and it's great, right? St. Patrick's Day. We all get to be crazy. Who wore green on St. Patrick's Day? Okay. It's a crazy, let's play it out, let's be fun, let's do this, let's pinch each other, because it's okay to be crazy. We have to, so we don't get too stiff on things. But if you do that on a day that you're not supposed to, it's different. My dog jumped in the back of the car yesterday with a Santa Claus in his mouth, and I go, "You're wrong, dude. It's St. Patrick's Day, not Santa Claus Day." He was happy nonetheless. So, but it's wrong. And with the understanding of society on a broken, visible, physical ailment, why don't we get the same understanding of a broken mind that is perhaps even more tormented than that of a broken leg that we just heal? And we don't because it's dangerous to us. Getting mad at the fly doesn't make it go away. We can get mad all we like. The poor will always be with us. The various books will say that. All religions are set up to protect people that are the poor. They're always given to the poor, the mentally ill, the downtrodden, and so forth, because there is no way in a society you can all be equal. There will always be somebody that finds ways and somebody that can't find ways. And they will always be with us. Now, the question is, in law enforcement, what do we do with them when they're misbehaving? Or our interpretation of misbehaving that we covered earlier. Next. Go see lady, it's a call for service. How is it beneficial that I have this knowledge? So it's good that Officer Hove sits down and feels sorry for these people. But what do you get for that for your tax money? Right? You pay for me to be an officer. I was supposed to shoot to the chest and be effective. Well, here's the story then. A young girl sits at a place and they call the police because she's symptomatic. She's crazy, she's disruptive. And I go see her and she goes, "I'm bipolar, I got bipolar disorder." Not I'm bipolar, she has bipolar disorder, which means that you tend to be manic, and then there's a kind of mutual period while you're slipping down into a severe depression, and manic, depression. They don't use that word anymore because you have to call it something different to be more kind to people. Bullshit, it's the same thing. It's the same thing, you go up, you go down, you go up. Some people will go a little bit past the neutral, some people will go a lot past the neutral. Have more severe swings. Some people will go with frequency, some people will go with a longer frequency and more steady decline and acceleration decline. She had one that was 3 months long. She knew that. It was like having her period. Every 3 months she would go from being manic to be depressed. When she was depressed, she was catatonic, would sit and look at the television, drool, and feel like she could kill herself. If only she had the time or the energy, she would kill herself. But she didn't have the energy. It was just too much to do. That's how catatonic she was. It's coming up in 3 months, and it's time to become depressed, and she knows it. Her pattern was that she would become depressed when she woke up in the morning. She would wake up depressed in the morning, like switch just got turned. So, having no other tools, how can you avoid waking up depressed in the morning? You guys are brilliant. So, it says that I know I help you a little bit more. It's that thing where you give them a little bit so that they get it, so they feel engaged. Otherwise, I have to make you stand up and sit down. So, she knows it's coming, and she won't go to sleep. Well, that worked for 3 days. What happens after 3 days of not going to sleep? You hallucinate. No, because you don't want to fall asleep. That you can keep that going, but you hallucinate severely. And now you become abnormal, and your behavior becomes abnormal. And how long do you think you can project that one out anyway? Not very long. Do you think she knows this, 25-year-old college graduates? Do you think she knows that? Okay, she has no other tool. Imagine the helplessness of her having no other tool. Because what are you going to tell her as the loved one who loves this person, saying, "It's okay, honey, all you got to do is take a pill"? The pill will you'll gain 60 pounds and you'll lose your sex drive. It gets a chuckle, but sex drive is not just a physical act, it's also the desire to have, go forward, procreate, that which is so ingrained deep in you that it's what makes it worth living. Not the sex, but the interest, the curiosity, the interaction with other people. That medication, but just dulls it down so that you can sleep at night. You'll gain 60 pounds and lose your reason to live. Now, who's going to sign up for that one? Yeah, I didn't think so. So now we're back to the other one. What can we do? Nothing. So I talked to her, the other officer scratching his head, I don't know what to do. My contacts with the mental health world makes it I could call a couple of people real quick, get her connected, get her services, get her a little bit of a sedative, and get her the sleep she needed so we can then pick up and go from there. That could have been a 2 or 3 hour police call. It turned into a 10-minute police call with me just dialing a couple of numbers, setting the other officer free, and I could go to the next one. That's my job. I follow the regular officers around so I can apply the knowledge that I've gotten from working with these individuals for all this time. And I find avenues, I find tools that they can use to get out of that which is an emergency, which it shouldn't be. Next. Arresting him, drug charges. He's been a druggie forever. 55-year-old man, just everything was a mess. He's just your standard drunk, disorderly, filthy looking person. Not filthy person, but filthy looking in his appearance. And I sit and talk to him a little bit, and he's got an indent on his forehead, and I kind of go, industrial injury, when did that happen? We've got to talk about something, right? When did that happen? What happened? He goes, oh, that's from hitting my head to make the voices stop. When I was younger. So he has a distinct cranial deformation that I can see sitting across the room from trying to shut up the noise in his head. So I before we go to the next part, I encourage you right now, just try this real fast. Ready for it? It's going to be a trick. Okay. I want you to try as hard as you can, all you might, to for 30 seconds now. It's all I ask, just 30 seconds. It's not much. I'm not asking now. For 30 seconds, do not think about a pink elephant. Start now. Do not think about it. Go for 30 seconds, give it to me. Do not think about a pink elephant. Absolute quiet in your head. Think of nothing, especially not the pink elephant. All right, raise your hand if you're successful.
About half an hour.
That was half an elephant.
Soft
The color.
in the corner.
So my point here is, can you shut your brain down? 90% of your conversation in your life is internal. You can't just stop it. So he has an internal conversation that goes on, but his filter is made in such a way that there's another one going on along with it, and a third one in the back, and a fourth one back here, and they are never friendly. For some reason, and Marcia, you may be able to explain this, I don't know, but they are never your friend, truly. They are your protector. Don't listen to her because she's trying to trick you. Don't trust this one, she's writing stuff down. This one here knows computers. He didn't put up the sound system because he didn't want them to hear what you had to say. And now they're laughing at you. They're laughing at you because you look funny today, your shirt's untucked. They're laughing at me because. That's what the voices are telling you. So you begin to operate from all that logic being tossed at you. Because if you can't, he didn't get that. He didn't understand that the reason they know what scares him the most, that makes the hair stand up, he doesn't know how they know that, and he gives them a lot of power. That they know that, and they can mess with him that severely. And when they drilled him a little bit on it, he understood, he goes, oh, I never thought about that. 55-year-old man has never thought about the fact that they live in his head, that's why they know what's going on in his head. And they don't even pay rent. That's what I said to him. They don't even pay rent, kick him out. Next. Next, it's just feeling hopeless, and I get 10 times as high on my mania as people doing illegal drugs. This guy goes, I don't need drugs. I don't need drugs, I just wake up in jail. I don't know what happens, but it is a hell of a ride. And lots of things and good stories to tell, but I wake up in jail. Because the manic mind will not be subdued when it goes off the deep end. Next. I don't go looking for adventures, I just wake up in jail. These are all quotes from my people. And we'll go to the next one in the interest of time. We don't have sound. She recited a poem for about a minute and a half that she had committed to memory when she was 12 years old. She got Korsakov's wet brain, which is your brain doesn't work anymore because you drank your whole life and it's just, there's nothing left in there. She's also bipolar. Her and her twin sister, who has no problems at all, and is a yoga instructor in Los Angeles, with a life together versus this one living in the bushes, getting beat up by all her drunk friends and so forth. They found a suicide note from a heroin addict, and it was a goodbye to the world. And she had that recited, and it talked about the addiction to heroin and what it does and how you're stuck on it. And I heard it recited to me, and I'm looking at it going, where does that come from? How do you have that poem in your head 45 years later, and you live the lifestyle, you know this stuff, but you can't put the two together, and yet you never let go of that understanding. So I said, could you recite that for me one more time? And I clicked record, and she recited it for me, and it's an amazing poem. So I don't know, I can't guide you to it, and we have the conspiracy over here that keeps the speakers. Next. Oh. Next. We'll cut that one. There's no point in watching this one. Well, yeah, I'll narrate it. This is Tyler Richardson. He's a drunk. He's a homeless person that's been on the streets for 25 years. I talked to him one time because he kept arresting him. And he lives among these people here, and these are some of my other clients. In talking to him, it turns out that he's wanting to go to a program, but he can't make his way to the program. He doesn't have the resource to get to a program to be sober. I talked to him, this is what he looks like when I deal with him. That's kind of when I met him at first. Look at his body language. He's irritated with me because he's got a cup or something in it. I smell it. That one happened to not be alcohol, but he's a drunk. Drinks all day long. That's him cleaned up after 6 months in the program. Story goes about how we go to that. Well, in the process of going to this program, I'm thinking, well, how do I just let him go out again to be the same? Because he's learned to be good in a controlled environment, but what will happen when he comes out? So he mentioned that he worked for Coco, the signing gorilla. You guys remember Coco, the heavy kid? Yeah. He was her caretaker. So I called the Gorilla Foundation and I said, I got a guy named Tyler here who used to work for us. He said, oh, I love him. I says, if I can get him back to you, would you like to rehire him? And they said yes. Wow. So he comes out of his 6-month program. I take him, I drive him up to San Francisco, Redwood City, and I introduce him to Coco again. She recognizes him after 25 years and goes, come on over, sit down. So she starts talking to him, and he gets hired to go back. And this is what he's been wanting for 20 years. It's all he talked about. Sounded crazy, but I went, well, why don't I check into it? So he ends up getting the job. Everything is great. I walk away going, one less drunk on the streets of Santa Barbara, a lovely story to go with it, a happy person, a happy citizenry, everything is great. And a month goes by and he calls me from the hotel room with a bottle of Jack Daniels going, there's slugs up here, they carry parasites with them. And I go, hold on, we didn't talk crazy talk before, we talked drunk talk. Now we talk crazy talk, what's going on? Well, I've always had these anxieties, that's why I drank, and now I begin to unravel it. He's up by San Francisco, I'm sitting on my cell phone talking to him. I'm going, oh shoot, now what do I do? For a month I stayed with him on the phone every day, and we talked about what to do, and I got him back to work again. Whoa. So he didn't come back to Santa Barbara. That's what you pay me for. You pay me to keep him away from your businesses with these skills. He goes back to work, he's back for 6 months, and he begins to drink heavily because something else. And a year goes by, and I get a message from him that he had died. I didn't get it from him. I got in the obituary that he had died up in Redwood City as a homeless person on the streets. He's a good man, but he's mentally ill. He's an alcoholic. He didn't go to drugs really hard, but when I saw that obituary, it's like, blessed be death at that time, perhaps for him, I don't know. But he was a good man. He meant no. You saw him in the suit, right? You saw him cleaned up. He's somebody's family members. When I took him out of the program and I brought him in, you see him right there, I had to stop by my in-laws in Los Angeles on the way home. So I stopped by with him. We chit-chatted, we visited him there for about 15, 20 minutes. We left. They didn't know he was a customer. They thought he was a co-worker. And they commented on my co-worker. I says, no, that one, no, that's one of my bums. They couldn't tell, right? So within all of these people, there is that humanity inside of them that's what I do. I look for it. How do I bring that out of this jerk who's right now acting and behaving like what you saw on the patrol car at first? How do I get that out so that we can put that on the table and go, that's who you are. How do we make this fit into everybody else's world so that the pounding of negative enforcement on you can stop so that you can go on? Do we all have to be the same? Absolutely not. That would be boring. But we have to conform to social rules, and that's my job as a police officer, to make it that you conform to the rules that we've all agreed upon, because we have to say democracy has to dictate the rules we have to live by. And you cannot show me a culture or a tribe or anything of that sort, a congregation of people anywhere in the world that doesn't have a set of rules to follow. Would you agree with that? So what happens when they break the rules? And then you're either somebody you have to fear because they will hurt and kill you, like we talk about over here, a guy with a knife, or there's somebody that just doesn't have the faculties. So what do you do with them? Well, that's what you have. The smart people, the ones with degrees, have to figure that one out. But they say to us, law enforcement, when I bring somebody to them and say, this one is dysfunctional, I'll bring him to you. They say, oh, don't bring him here when he's been drinking, because we can't get a clear reading on his mental health. And I go, well, he always drinks. I'm trying to make him not drink. Well, bring him back when he doesn't drink. Thank you very much. Then I go, well, let me go get him to the place where they stop people from drinking. And they look at him and says, he's dressing funny, he's acting funny, he's talking funny, he doesn't have his lithium. Doesn't have his librium. Well, I'm trying to get lithium in one and librium in the other one. Lithium is for his mental health, and librium is for his drinking. So I'm trying to get one, but they won't give it to me because he doesn't have the other one. Then I go to where they have the other one by the bulk, and they won't give it to me there because he doesn't have the one he needs for this. And that's when I look at them and exasperately I go, come on guys, here's my blame, I'll help you. And then I put him at this shelter for 3 or 4 days, and I might accidentally get him some booze for those 3 days so that he cannot fall into severe detox withdrawal seizures. Enough time to get him cleaned up, dressed up, and take him back over to the place that will now look at him and give him the medication he needs to go over here. So it may take me 6 hours. You paid for 6 hours of my time to take a person that's laying in his own vomit in a gutter and get him into a detox facility. It'll cost you 6 hours of police time to get him in there, because guess what? The people that are supposed to deal with him, they're not going in the gutter for him. They're not picking him up. They don't come out to see them and get them. They give them an appointment for next Thursday at 3 in the afternoon to show up 17 blocks up the road and don't be drunk that day. So I take them and I make them so that they fit that demand and criteria. Or I go get the guy from the mental health and I drag him down there and go, I rub his nose in it and I go, can you see this guy? Because I can. And so can everybody else. Yeah, but he's peed on himself. I can't take him. Okay, we'll unpee him. Can I not take him? So that's my job. Or I've taken that on as my job. And that's what we do restorative policing. 5 years ago, 6 years ago, we got what's called restorative court. I take all these people that have all these cases of criminal behavior, peeing in public, sleeping in public, yelling in public, ugly in public, standing in the street in public, anything that's an irritant to the rest of you. I take those charges and I say, if you want to do something different, I keep picking you because you're front row, I apologize, but there you are. If you have those charges, come in my courtroom, and if you agree, if you tell me what you want that will stop these things from happening, then I'll help you with that. If for 6 months you don't get any more charges, we dismiss them all. Nobody cares about them. You haven't hurt anybody. You've just been disorderly, and we're trying to stop disorderly behavior because it's irritating to the rest. You would say yes because it sounds like a good plan, but you'll sabotage it and you'll do everything kicking and screaming, but it's still your plan. And as long as it's your plan, you get to be in here. And every time you mess up, we just start the clock again 6 more months. In the beginning, they'll go, well, I'll do this, but I don't want to leave town for a program. Okay, we don't have any programs in town. What are we going to do? Well, I could just stay at my friend's house on the couch. Okay, let's try that. Seen that before. 2 weeks later, they're back in court. Yeah, I told you it wasn't going to work, but I'm not going to say I told you so. Now I had this other plan. What do you think about this one now? You stay in jail. Stay there for a week until I get this bed over here. I'll do all the work for it, and I'll drive you down there, and I'll buy you lunch on the way down. And that's what we end up doing. So we've gone through about 600 or 700 people in the last 6 years with a very high success rate of getting them up a step or two in their quality of life. The minute that the bum on the street that pees and poops on himself in front of your room, the minute he has a room to be in, he is no longer your burden. Does he still cost you money as a taxpayer? Yes. Does he still depend on subsidized housing? Does he still depend on free medical? Does he? Yes. Does he deserve that housing? Hell no. Wait, yes. Yes, no, yes. Right? Does he? No, he doesn't. Drug addict his whole life, didn't plan for it, didn't put anything aside for a rainy day. He doesn't deserve it, and yet, that's not my job. It's not my job to be the judge of that. I look at him and go, there's a human being that needs to be over here, and he's there now. I'm going to bring him up there. And save the rest of you having to look at him in the meantime. So I'm as bipolar as those people in my opinions here because, well, I'll say this bluntly here. $860 per month given to somebody that cannot handle his finances. What do you think happens with that? Sex, drugs, and rock and roll. And 3 days later, presenting the same set of annoying and disruptive behavior, waiting for the next check so you can do what? Sex, drugs, and rock and roll. $860 a month. When I say to them, I got a place for you to live for $500, they go, that's too much of my check. No way, can't do it. Sorry, what are you crazy? I can't pay that much out of my money. I go, whose money? My money. We're giving it to you so that you can live indoors because you're not doing it yourself. And yet, later that afternoon, I'll be with another guy at the SSI office going in, going, watch this, guys. I'm with the cops. Can you please help this? Because you ignored him for 5 years while he's been trying to get SSI. So I'm advocating for them at the same time as I'm upset with the fact that he's blowing my money. Now, when you apply for SSI and they deny you, which they do categorically 3 times to make it difficult for you, because they don't just want to give money to people that don't deserve that money. They deny you hoping you're going to go away. When you get an attorney or when you get somebody who then finally gets you to get that SSI based on your your mental illness, you get back pay from the first time you applied. So let's say 4 or 5 years go by, you get $26,000 that you're due. Now we've just determined that you are not capable of handling your own money, your own affairs. So why don't we just throw $26,000 at you in cash? How would you like that in 20s or 100s? Okay. So I am very conflicted going to fight for somebody to get put in that position and spend your money on that, but at the same time, it's his entitlement and his right and his so on. So my people are victims of not being able to function in life. That's just some of the homeless. Who do you think the other ones are? The ones we don't like. The ones that are really difficult because they're criminally minded. And they're the ones that will pick up knives. My people won't pick up knives and hurt people. The other people, they'll kill you and rape you and steal your car and they'll do drugs all day long because it's fun. Not because you're running from your demons, but because it's fun. And then that lifestyle leads you to homelessness. So then the homeless people living in the shelters are some of those, and they are my people. And we put those together and say, here, homeless people, you sleep over here, and you get these services, go ahead and have fun together. How's that going to work? It doesn't. Right? So homelessness is a broad spectrum of all those people and categories and circumstances. And I don't have, after talking this much, I still don't have a solution for it. But what I hope that I've given you is an understanding of what that segment of the population is, what it is, and why they are there. When you go up on State Street, if you go on the bottom of State Street, you'll see the old-time drunks. When you get to the middle of State Street, I'm talking 500-600 block, when you get just before Carrillo, everything south of Carrillo will be the young ones, the ones coming through town, all dressed up with the earrings and the funny hair and all that stuff, traveling through. And then when you get north of Carrillo, 2 or 3 streets, you'll see all my people here. Because they don't want to be with the criminal elements. Just because they're homeless doesn't mean they get along with these people. And those people don't want to deal with the old drunks because that's like looking at a mirror of what they will be. And the old ones don't want to be with the young ones because the young ones, they have an anarchistic approach to everything. I once arrested somebody and in her book, her daily calendar says, steal stuff from borders. And that's what she did. Steal stuff from borders just to get back at them. How dare they have a $50,000 a month Do you hear that number? $50,000 a month rent at Borders, now Marshalls. And she thought, those capitalistic pigs need to be punished, so I need to steal something from them every day. How can you even begin with that logic? And yet you can take a standpoint and go, yeah, they are capitalists and they rule the world and do this, that, and the other. But she then chose to be a criminal on the street, stealing from them every day. And I opened the backpack and there were several good books in there, so I knew she carried out on it. So I arrested her for something minuscule and so on and so on. But as a police officer, you really get to see what everybody's made up of. And then the longer you're an officer, going back to the very beginning of talking about officers, people think that officers become more and more jaded as time goes by. That used to be the old way. It was you and your partner and 5 other guys you kind of trusted, then it's you and your partner, and then after a while your partner's kind of an asshole, so you don't really like him either. And then it's Jack Daniels, that's the only one left, and then you shoot yourself one day, which is why the suicide rate, is that Steve? The suicide rate of police officers that retire, or officers and retire, is much higher than any other profession. We go out and help you all day long, and at some point it just becomes too much and we just kill ourselves. Not so much anymore, but that was the one thing I looked at when I get to law enforcement, going, well, wait a second, if I'm going to go play that game of chicken, am I willing to do that? If I know going into it is dangerous, why would I do it? Because I couldn't stop myself. I just wanted to go do this. And I love it. I love this job for the 19 years I've been in it. I'll be in it for as long as I can, and I love every day of it. And every day these people drive me crazy, and I love it too. So. I think you're all stick, the talking stick.
Well, okay, we have a little time for questions.
Okay, officer, you said you had martial arts training. Are you allowed or approved to use that on the job?
Yes. We get very little training. We get minimum standards training. And that's, so when I train martial arts, I would train 4 days a week for 2 hours. What we get is every 2 years, we get an 8-hour day of training, perishable skills. What I like to say is you will perish if you don't have those skills. Because you cannot train. It's like playing tennis. You play tennis 8 hours, squeeze everything in every 2 years, and that's your tennis. Now go compete. It's totally irresponsible to have us have that little training, because this is not what I want to use. I want to use the ability to grab your hand and turn you and set you down and go, okay, stop, without using this. So most officers are type A personalities, and they're into wrestling and other things, because it's, you need, let's not be ignorant here, you need men and determination to suppress violence and other men. That's why the army is filled with, and don't get me into men and female, because we can go there, I get that. And little female officers can be good officers. I'm not saying they cannot, but there's a reason that all societies take the biggest, fattest, strongest, youngest men out front and go, you won't break this line. Now, we can have the females with us there, and they're excellent officers, but there's no way you can play the same tackle football when you weigh 100 pounds as you do when you weigh 260 pounds. You simply can't.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Is there any hope of breaking this county jail system where they release people at odd hours of the morning? You mentioned one.
They tried it for a while. They had
what can we do as voters?
So
the county jail just seems like the weak link in this.
So therefore I encourage you to talk to them, because they seem like it, but there are things taking place that we don't have control of. My preference is that once they go in, they need to stay in, ought to stay in instead of being let out and be put back in again, because that takes a lot of time for us. We know who they are. Letting them go in the middle of the night is dangerous. There was a female, one of my clients from way back, that got hit and killed by a car at 2 in the morning, so they stopped that.
Okay.
But the system is so difficult to get everybody to court. So breakfast in jail is at 3 a.m.
Oh.
Dinner is at, I believe it's 6 or 7. I'm sorry, lunch is at 6 or 7. And then dinner is about 4. and then you go to bed somewhere around 8 or so. Breakfast is at 3 a.m. so you can wake everybody up so that they can go to court and they can go do whatever other things needs to be done. So it's difficult for them to be releasing people in the middle of these other activities. So therefore they do the release in the quiet time, and that lets them out past midnight. It is really an administrative logistic problem. So what they did was they gave them taxis, $20 taxi rides. So the two guys you saw in the back of my car would go back and forth between their park and jail in what cost you $20 in taxi rides every time they did, and that was every 2 days. And that's just my friends here. So if you have the capital to support that, I encourage you to talk to them. Or the idea is to change that. Sam.
But if you have a bed for somebody.
Wait a minute, wait a
You
minute.
have a bed for
Wait a
somebody,
minute.
can't you get the?
We have to clear
Yes,
the
and we
room
don't.
because the caterer's gonna sit up. So, everybody out on the patio, and clean up around your area as well.
Oh, like I said,